Hi loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I make new videos every other week and I have a lot of fun videos for you guys in the works, so make sure you subscribe and turn on my bell notifications so you don't miss a thing. So if you did not know, I am diagnosed with ADD or attention deficit disorder. Now, looking at the words used to describe this disorder, it's pretty obvious that I have trouble focusing and staying on task. But what a lot of people don't know about this disorder is it affects almost every area of my life to some extent. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing some of the ways that having this disorder affects me on a daily basis, along with giving you guys some tips on how to deal with your ADD or ADHD if you're also struggling with these things too. If you're interested in any of my other ADD or ADHD content, I do have a whole playlist on my channel full of videos on ADD, ADHD, study tips, fidget toys, and so much more. So if you would like to check that out, I will leave it up here and in the description box below if you're interested. And I want to be super clear before this video starts that I am not a mental health professional, nor do I claim to be. Everything that I will be talking about in this video is from either my own personal experience with this, research I've done on it, or some of the experiences and feelings of my friends who also struggle with this disorder. So just wanted to be very clear with that because, like I said, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just somebody with this disorder who wants to talk about it. And also I want to mention that all of the things that I'm talking about in this video I will have linked down below if you would like to read more. But the reason I want to keep talking about my ADD diagnosis and shedding light on what it's actually like living with this disorder is because it's something I'm really passionate about. I feel like even though we've come pretty far in society's acceptance and knowledge of this disorder, I feel like no one ever truly gets right what it's actually like having this. There's still a lot about this disorder that is stigmatized or has toxic stereotypes behind it, and there's a lot of it that's not talked about at all. So my hope in making these videos is that somebody can find it helpful, feel less alone, or take away from some of those stigmas and toxic stereotypes of this disorder and help educate people on ADD and ADHD, as well as give those who struggle with this a little safe space to feel like they're not alone in dealing with this, because you definitely are not. It is so much more common than you think. Just a little statistic that I'm going to run through really quick. 45% of the US adult population, roughly around like 9 million people, have been diagnosed with ADHD. And if we're looking at that statistic for school age kids, 1 in every 25 to 30 kids has ADHD. And if we're looking at the average American school size, it's about 4,692 students. And out of those 4,692 students, about 165 of them will struggle with ADHD. Quick little statistic, but I feel like it's important to kind of emphasize how common this disorder is. You definitely are not alone. So yeah, sorry for that super long intro. I'm just going to jump right into it. These are some of the symptoms of ADD or ADHD that just aren't talked about. Our first point is emotional dysregulation. Emotional dysregulation refers to the inability to regulate one's emotional responses to certain situations or to keep their emotional reactions within a normal or acceptable range of typical emotional responses and reactions to things. And this can be any type of emotion. It could be sadness, anger, happiness. It really affects all of them. Now, this can be seen in a variety of ways, whether that is an emotional outburst in response to an upsetting situation. It can be choosing to avoid your feelings altogether because your emotions can feel so overwhelming, it's just easier to numb yourself to them. It can be the inability to calm yourself down or talk yourself up when you're not feeling great. It can also be, and I think this is the one I struggle with the most, it can be the inability to recognize what emotions you're feeling in the moment. And I have my own theories as to why this one happens. I think it has a lot to do with masking, and I will talk a lot more about that in a little bit. But emotional dysregulation can be really difficult to deal with at times because life is full of emotions. Every day you're going through different ranges of emotions, and having a hard time processing and expressing those emotions in a healthy way can negatively impact a person. But there are ways of working through this. I'm going to be going over some of the tips that I feel like will help out the most. Therapy is a great option, specifically dialectical behavioral therapy. This type of therapy helps you engage with your emotions more and sort of helps to connect your emotional and logistical side and kind of make it so that you're able to combine those in a healthy way in order to deal with the situation. But therapy can be super expensive and not everybody has access to that. So some things that I recommend that might be able to help with that are keeping a journal. I know everybody says this, but hear me out. I think it could be really beneficial to just keep a journal with you. And when you start to feel that huge wave of emotions start to take over, or you're just upset and you can't figure out why, I want you to take a break from whatever you're doing, go somewhere quiet, take your journal out and write down how you're feeling in the moment, and whatever thoughts are going on in your head, just throw them onto the paper. You can set a timer if you'd like, or just write until you feel a little bit more calm. The point in doing this is just to let yourself feel however you're feeling and get it all out onto the paper. Then whenever you're finished journaling, go over what you've written and try to specify certain emotions that you've been feeling. And I'm not talking just be like sad or angry. I mean like feelings, wheel it out. Find things within that situation that you have control over that you can make changes to make yourself feel a little bit better. better and come up with a plan with steps in it to make yourself feel better. I find that writing things out, especially in the moment that I'm feeling them, gives me that time to calm down and process my emotions better. Also, it's in a way that's private and helps you track your growth as well. Another way that you can do this is by using a color or number system. I kind of made this up mostly for me. I don't know if it's an actual thing, but I'll try my best to explain what it is, so hopefully it can help you. Basically, every few hours I will ask myself, what color am I feeling? And you can write it down or just try and remember it. Or if numbers work better for you, you can ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I feeling right now? And at the end of the day, go over how your numbers or your colors changed throughout the day and try to reflect on why you were feeling those emotions and if you were able to process those emotions fully in the moment. And this can help determine if you're stressed for no apparent reason. You can kind of see where in your day you felt the most stress and see if there was anything that triggered it possibly. And eventually it'll help you narrow down what specifically is bothering you throughout the day or what you could do to improve your feelings throughout the day. And hopefully that will help you prevent or deal with those emotions a little bit better. And it can help you hopefully take action to prevent or deal with or process those emotions more efficiently. Moving on to the second thing in our list, we have executive dysfunction. Executive dysfunction refers to the brain's self-management system, which includes regulating emotions, which we just talked about, motivation, memory, planning, and problem-solving skills, all of which are pretty much essential to working and living in modern society. I think this is probably the hardest part of having ADD or ADHD because it really interferes with how we are able to function in modern society, and I feel like this is especially hard with the work grind mentality that we have right now, where the amount of work you're able to get done is seen as the equivalent to success. And that kind of thinking drives a lot of us to believe that we are not enough or that we can never be successful because we function so differently from neurotypical people. I actually did find an article on how executive dysfunction works inside of the brain. It's really geeky and fascinating and I love it. So if you wanted to check it out, it's linked down below. But in this article, it goes over how each of the things that I just listed are processed inside the mind and what is different neurologically inside the brains of people with ADD or ADHD as opposed to somebody without ADD or ADHD. But what I found to be the most helpful in dealing with executive dysfunction is as follows: keeping and maintaining a consistent daily schedule, checking in with yourself and your daily progress using lists, reminders, or proper organization, setting timers to do things that you don't have the motivation to do. I use this for cleaning my room. I'll set a timer for 10 minutes and I will only clean for the 10 minutes, but it is still 10 minutes of work so that things don't pile up and make it harder at the end of the week. And at the end of the 10 minutes, I can choose to keep cleaning or stop. But in my mind, I'm like, it's only 10 minutes. I can do this. Try listening to music or a podcast when you have to do something you really hate. This kind of gives your brain the option to distract itself using that so your body can just do whatever task it needs to do. That way, while you're doing it, you don't only have to think about how much you hate doing whatever you're doing or having things that you need to do visible and noticeable until you finish the task. Like if you need to mail a letter, put it on top of your phone or your laptop so that you can't use your phone or your laptop until you mail that letter. And finally, work on and practice completing tasks fully. Using a list similar to this one kind of helps your brain learn to properly store information so that your brain can kind of help teach itself how to properly complete and organize tasks in a more efficient way. Now, moving on to number 3, we have food intake. This one looks different for everybody. In my personal experience, I have a pretty dulled sense of needs and I'll talk about that later, but my brain essentially has a hard time reading hunger signals correctly, which for me either feels like I'm never hungry at all or I get so hungry I'm nauseous, which is pretty common for people who are medicated for this, but it can also look like overeating, impulse eating, and having an addiction to sugar, which some people might say oh, it's just an excuse, you have no self-control, but it's not that at all. There's actually a ton of scientific research on why this happens. Inside the brain of somebody with this disorder, we actually have a lack of dopamine, and this causes our brain to sort of seek it out from an outside source. So since our brains are looking for dopamine, we can start to associate it with certain foods, and sometimes we can kind of go overboard with that because our brains are just telling us that we need more dopamine, so the only way to get it is through eating junk food or eating a specific type of food. I'll leave a couple links as to how your ADHD contributes to your food habits if you're interested in that. Another thing that people with this disorder do are eating the same foods for weeks on end and never getting tired of it. I'm currently on toast or a bagel with mixed nut butter, chia seeds, flax seeds, and cinnamon, and I'll always have a piece of fruit on the side. It doesn't matter what it is, but it has to be a piece of fruit. I have had that maybe once a day for almost 2 years now, and I've never gotten tired of it. And to some people that might sound like weird or gross, but I just really enjoy it and I've never gotten tired of eating it. As for tips on how to help with this, I feel like it's so specific to each individual, so I'm going to give some very general tips that will hopefully help the majority of people. I've noticed, especially myself, I have a hard time deciding on what I want to eat, and sometimes I just don't want to cook. Like, it's so much work. I will literally just eat whatever is quickest to make, which doesn't always end up being the healthiest. So I found that meal prepping helps a lot, especially if you have a little bit of time on the weekends or a certain day in the week, or just even making extra of whatever dinners you can make so that you always have already prepared food on hand. Making or buying snack packs that are a little bit healthier. That way when you're too tired to make a good snack or a meal, you at least have something to feed your brain so that your brain is able to focus on what it needs to. Also, like I said, a lot of medications that are used to help with ADD or ADHD suppress your hunger. So setting reminders to eat and drink water have helped me out a ton. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is poor sleeping habits. People who are diagnosed with ADD or ADHD almost always have trouble either falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up. So as somebody who has a really hard time falling asleep, these are the things that have helped me. First is having a good and consistent bedtime routine. Another thing that'll help out is not eating or drinking a lot before going to bed, so that way you can kind of relax a little bit better so that you're not too full or you don't have to get up to go to the bathroom. I'm a huge scent association person, so pillow sprays have been really nice. Whether you buy them or make them yourself, they're just really relaxing. And finally, melatonin. I mean, obviously talk to your doctor before you start any new medications or supplements, but I talked to my doctor, got the go ahead, and they actually helped me out a ton. This is the one that I use. This is organic, vegan, gluten-free, peanut-free, free from artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives. This has helped me out so much. I have such a hard time falling asleep. Like, my mind will just keep me up all night if I let it. So by taking like 1 or 2 of these before bed, I'm able to relax a little bit more and actually feel sleepy, and it kind of tells my mind to turn itself off so that I have a better chance of actually falling asleep. As for those of us who have trouble staying asleep, obviously again, talk to your doctor before starting melatonin, but this is another one that I use. This one is like a time release melatonin, and I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as the other one, but this one has a time release in it, so it like slowly dissolves and helps you stay asleep the entire night. That one for me didn't work out a ton, but it still did help when I was really struggling with it. Another thing that'll help is not getting up or really moving when you do wake up in the middle of the night. And if you're like me and you struggle with your brain just waking you up and thinking, try meditation. I know it doesn't really work for everybody, especially people who are diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. It can be really hard for us, but if you do wake up in the middle of the night, at least try it and see if it works for you. And as for those of us who struggle with getting up in the mornings, something that has helped me is setting a ton of alarms. I'm going to literally pull out my phone and show you the amount of alarms I have set. So I typically wake up around like 5:30ish for my work shift. So to get up at that time, I will have all of these alarms set so that I can get up at the correct time. And they have the most annoying ringtone ever, and it's also at the loudest volume it can go, so I get up out of annoyance, which I mean isn't a great way to start your day, but it works. Okay, this one is weird. Before you go to bed, if you're able to sleep through the whole night, drink a glass of water so that when you wake up, all you can think about is how much you have to pee, and you'll get up out of bed to pee. You could try using one of those light alarms to wake yourself up so it is more of a natural wake up. Also, that would probably be so helpful during the winter too. Or try putting your phone across the room so that you have to get up in order to turn the alarm off. The next thing we're going to talk about is having a dulled sense of needs. I haven't seen many people talk about this, and there really hasn't been enough research done on this to determine whether it's 100% related back to ADD or ADHD, but it's something that I do struggle a lot with, and I feel like it has something to do with it. Specifically, I feel like it relates back to executive dysfunction. I found that some of us can be completely oblivious to bodily functions or environmental changes. This can be like you don't recognize you're hungry, you don't realize the temperature of the room has changed, or even for bathroom needs as well, because there's just so much going on up here at all times that sometimes our physical needs or physical awareness kind of gets pushed to the back burner. I've noticed specifically this happens a lot when I hyperfocus, because when we're finally able to give all of our attention to one specific thing, we try and hold on to it for as long as possible. So sometimes we will forget to sleep, we'll forget to eat, especially when we're working on something that our brain feels like is more important than those things. Like I said before, setting reminders to eat, drink, and sleep can help with this. Or by the time our brain pays attention to what our body is asking for, it's well past the point we should have taken care of it already. Like, I don't realize I have to pee until I'm about to pee my pants. So again, setting little reminders to go to the bathroom can help. Or again, if you forget to eat, have something near you that you can eat at all times, like a little snack pack or something, so that you don't have to physically get up and make something and lose that focus while you have it. Like I said before, in the minds of people with ADD or ADHD, there's this lack of dopamine, and because of this, our brain has sort of developed a reward system. If we do something and it sucks, we aren't going to be motivated to do it the next time because there is no reward in the form of dopamine. And on the contrast to that, if we have something we like doing, we're going to want to do it more and be motivated to do it more because of the release of dopamine in our brains. And since our brains are pretty much all over the place at all times, it's very important for us to conserve mental energy. So by developing this reward system, that's sort of our brain's way of doing that for us. There are a few things that can happen when we have to do something that we don't see a reward in. It can be procrastinating all your work till the last minute or not doing it at all. We can only put half of our effort into it, which makes the outcome not as great as it could have been, which is really frustrating to us. Or it can be doing whatever we needed to do, but being really frustrated that we had to do it and it kind of ruins our whole day. Something that I've found helps with this is taking advantage of that reward system and creating small rewards within the things we hate to make it a little bit more doable and give us a little bit more motivation to do whatever it is we need to do, whether that's in the form of breaks. If you have to read a textbook for school, put little candies on the ends of each paragraph so that way you get a little treat whenever you read a paragraph. Or if you have to write an essay, every page you write of that essay, you get 10 minutes on your phone or just like a 10-minute break. It's pretty much a trial and error, so find things that work for you by testing them out and try your best to push forward even though I know it sucks. Or like I said before, you can try out a little timer system where you do whatever it is you need to do for only 10 minutes and take a break afterwards. Number 7 is masking. Masking can happen for a variety of different disorders, but most commonly it happens in people with ADD or ADHD and people on the autism spectrum. Masking is the act of hiding one's personality or symptoms of their disorder in order to conform better to societal pressures or to seem more present in social interactions so that they seem more neurotypical to other people. There's a lot of different ways to mask. I'll give a few examples of this. The main one is repressing self-calming or self-stimulating actions or repetitive movements, which are also called stimming. These are things like tapping your foot, cracking your knuckles, moving your hands a lot, or fidgeting with things in order to keep yourself focused and ground yourself. By the way, we do a lot of this subconsciously, so it's a lot of energy to catch those little actions. It's not something we're really aware of unless we are trying to mask, in which case we have to be like on all the time so we don't accidentally slip into autopilot and do the actions that we're used to doing, which is just exhausting all the time. And masking takes up so much energy because we have to be hyper aware of everything we're doing and how we're presenting ourselves to other people. I think this is why a lot of people with this disorder experience burnout to the extent that they do, especially if they work in a more social environment. There are also more protective forms of masking, such as distancing yourself from coworkers, or when you do interact with them, you avoid talking about yourself or your interests so that others won't see you as weird for them. It can even be seen in the form of faking happy emotions in social interactions so that your true feelings or lack of facial expressions don't make anybody uncomfortable. I know I struggle a lot with vocal tone. I'm not great with it, and I really do try my best to make my voice sound a little bit more animated than it is because I naturally have a monotone voice, and I know that can come off as rude to some people or like I'm angry with them or something, and I really don't mean for it to. I'm just really not great at vocal tone, so I have to make a huge effort, especially at work, to make my voice sound a little bit more like upbeat and friendly so that others aren't uncomfortable by me speaking. It just takes me a lot more effort to emote properly through facial expressions, vocal tone, and body language. It just doesn't come naturally to me because I already have a lot to keep up with and think about up here that like vocal tone, facial expressions, like all of that comes as an afterthought to me. I'm just trying to get whatever I'm thinking about out, and I'm not really paying attention all the time to how it sounds. So it can be hard to connect with and talk to people without masking because I worry about coming off as rude and unfriendly. It just takes a lot of effort to mask, but I do it so that people are more comfortable around me. Another form of masking is social mirroring. I feel like this should be its own category because there is so much to unpack with this one. Social mirroring can be seen in a ton of different ways. Things such as changing your body language to match whatever the person you're talking to is. Things like if they take a sip of water, you take a sip of water, and it can be totally unconscious that you do it. It can even be seen in the form of language. If they're talking really formally, you'll start to do that as well, or if they have certain words that they use, you can pick up on it and repeat it back to that person. It can be tone as well. If they have a very emotive voice, you can sort of match your voice to be more like theirs. This to me is the funniest one, but it is the one that gets us in the most trouble. It's accent mirroring. I don't have this, but my mom does for sure. If she's ever talking to somebody who has an accent, she will pick up on it within 5 to 10 seconds of having a conversation with them. But other people think that we are mocking them, and that is absolutely not what we're doing. Most times we're not even consciously aware of it. It's just a thing that our brain does to make us seem a little bit more socially normal to whoever we're speaking to, and our brains think that the more we're like that person, the more they'll like us. So our brain kind of makes us appear, whether it's through an accent or body language, more like that person in order to get them to like us and for us to seem more normal to them. I'll be honest, I don't have many tips on how to deal with this because I struggle with this a ton, especially since I have to appear professional and upbeat at my job. But some things that I found help are having like a small thing to fidget with, especially if you have pockets, it's easier to hide it. If you're looking for little small fidget toys, you could check out my video up here and in the description box below, all about hidden fidget toys and everyday objects. Or you can find a way to stim that isn't really noticeable. I work with my hands and I have to interact with people, so I'm not really able to do the ones I normally do, which is like cracking my knuckles or moving my pinky out of the socket. God, that sounds so weird, but I swear to God, it's all I can do to concentrate. So I've had to adapt those. After trying out a few different ones, I found that a way to do it is tapping my leg behind me so that I'm able to calm and ground myself without drawing too much attention to myself. And I mean, if you look at me, it looks like I'm adjusting my shoe or something. So trying out different stims outside of your normal ones, if you're not able to do those, might help. For social mirroring, I feel like that's kind of normal anyway, because I mean, body language is meant to be picked up on and read, so being extra aware of it, I feel like isn't a bad thing. As for being exhausted when you mask, finding a group of people who understand that, or even having your family understand that, and being comfortable enough around them to not have to mask is a huge thing that will help you feel a little bit more relaxed in social situations, having experience not masking with other people. And I think it'll make you feel a little bit more accepted by those people, and not having to feel like on all the time around them will help you be a little bit closer to them as well. So those are all the points I'm going to talk about today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure you give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more of my ADD or ADHD content, I will leave the playlist link down in the description box below for you to check out. If you haven't already, be sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on my bell notifications so you don't miss a thing. Stay safe, stay healthy, make good choices, and I will see you guys soon. Bye guys.